Welcome everybody to Dreams Unzipped, where you uncover the beauty of your dreams to discover the truth of who you are. I am Kelly Sullivan Walden, aka Dr. Dream, and I'm thrilled to be with you today because I have the blessing to get to talk to one of my favorite dreamers on the planet, Mr. Robert Haas, Bob Haas, as we like to call him. He's the author of several books, Dream Language. He is the former president of the IASD, the International Association for the Study of Dreams. He runs the Dream Science Foundation. That's dreamscience.org. He had a radio show. He was the vice president for global telecommunications at both American Express and IBM. And he's been featured in all kinds of publications, Reader's Digest, Prevention Magazine, USA Today, PBS. He was featured in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Dreams and Premonitions. And he helped partner with me in bringing in many IASD members into that book, which I'm very proud of and excited about. And we're going to talk a little bit about dreams that change lives. But first, I just want to welcome to Dreams Unzipped, Bob Haas. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So good to see you. Okay, so the topic, actually, ever since I met you several years ago, you always talk about the spiritual side of dreams and the transformational side of dreams, your own and other people whose stories you've been privy to. And now you're putting it in a book. And I know that you have a tremendous amount of passion behind this project and about what you're going to be talking about at the IASD conference coming up this June. So tell me why, first of all, you're so passionate about dreams that change people's lives.
Well, this is actually an IASD project. Many years ago, it was began as just a vision. What I wanted to do is something actually a little like Chicken Soup, where we went out to the general public, and at least to the IASD members and those associated with IASD, and collected dreams that changed their lives. Because there's really no better way to express the idea that dreams are important than when they actually make a dramatic change in your life. You wake up from a dream and you go, "Oh my God, what was all that about?" And it makes a big change in your life. So we went out and collected well over 100 dreams from members, and then sort of shut it off, and then selected about 100 that we put in this book. And we organized it around 9 different stages and events in our lives, beginning from the beginning of our journey through life, because we saw these, they're like big dreams. We saw these big dreams as like milestones along our journey. And they not only point the way and sort of guide us when we get off the path, but they also make transformational change along the way. So they're very, very powerful dreams. And the interesting thing is, in putting the book together and organizing it that way, we discovered that big dreams don't just happen when you're 30 years old to change your career. Big dreams start when you're first born, and they continue throughout your life till the moment that you're either losing some loved ones in death or you yourself are passing on. And they continue beyond that. So it was an amazing, amazing finding. And what we did was we found 22 different authors in our organization who are experts in all these stages of dreams during our lifetimes. Experts in psychic dreams, experts in nightmares. We even found an expert called Kelly Sullivan Walden.
What? That's ridiculous. Hey, show us the cover while you're talking about the book so we can see this. Oh, thank you, Bob. Thank you so much for letting me contribute and be in charge of one of the chapters that I think is a particularly important one, but it's nice to hear that it's in the context with so many other important themes.
Perfect. It was perfect. So hopefully you can see that. That's the...
Nope, we can't see it yet.
Can't see it yet. Oh, better try again.
Double click on that.
Yeah, this is little controls here, a little confusing
Hey,
today.
there we go.
There we go. So there
All
we go.
right, great.
Dreams that change our lives.
Mm.
And basically what we did is organize these not only in the 9 sections that follow our journey through life, but with the various authors themselves. And so they had a chance. I'm going to go back to you.
No, keep it up there.
Oh,
It's
you want me to
okay.
keep
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. Because you can. Yeah, that's.
We will go with it. Okay.
It's the beauty of this.
It
It's
looks
nice.
so much better.
It's such a pretty cover. It's gorgeous. It's cosmic. It's colorful. There's going to be some people that are just listening to us and they're not going to be able to see it. So I'm just going to describe it to those who are listening to this on the podcast. And if you want to go over to my YouTube channel, Kelly Sullivan Walden 1, that's the YouTube channel with the number 1 after it. So it says Dreams That Change Our Lives. And it's a profile shot of a woman, but it looks like she's in the center of an astrological wheel. And there's all these helixes and all these orbs that are surrounding her. And to me, it's a very spiritual looking cover, and it's just gorgeous. There's yellows, there's greens, there's blues, there's indigos. And what does it mean to you? Let's do a little, I don't know, if it were your dream, what does it mean to you, Bob?
The thing I really liked, it's very feminine, for one.
Mm-hmm.
It has I don't know if the main orb in the center is the moon.
That's true, right in the center, right.
So the cover has all the various elements of transformation. It's not only that moon symbol and the beautiful woman's face, but spirals of transformational energy around, and then a mandala. Now the mandala is formed by a zodiac-like sign or spiral around the woman's face, but it seemed to have all the elements of the things we tried to capture in the book. So the spirituality aspect,
cosmic,
the cosmic aspect of life-changing dreams, and of course, because I'm a scientist, the book has the scientific aspect and the psychological aspect as well. So it's got a little bit for everyone.
Dreams That Change Our Lives, a publication of the International Association for the Study of Dreams. Okay.
Right, and it's published by Chiron, who mainly a Jungian book publisher. And so if you're interested in an early copy, you can go to their website, Chiron Publications, CHIRON. And it should be under the new book that are coming soon.
That's great.
And I can order a copy. It'll be out in various versions: hard copy, soft copy, and eventually e-copy.
Oh, I can't wait to get my copy. And the forewords by Stanley Krippner, who's also one of our keynote speakers at the IASD conference that will be coming up soon. And just for those who, just while we're plugging things for a moment before we get into more of the content here, it's the 34th annual Dream Conference for the International Association for the Study of Dreams. It's at the Wyndham Anaheim Garden Grove Hotel. It's in Anaheim, California. It's June 16th through 20th. And if you're a dream enthusiast, which I imagine you are because you're watching this or listening to this, or you're somebody who's new to dreams, or maybe you're somebody who is an expert in your own right, there's such a diverse kind of group that shows up at these conferences. There's experts in all kinds of modalities that relate to dreams. There's scientists, there's psychologists, there's shamans, there's creative people, there's musicians, you'll see dreadlocks and didgeridoos walking by. You'll see very scholarly looking people. You'll see young people, old people, multicolored hair, multicolored resumes, and you will not have one dull moment the entire time you're there.
There's actually about over 50 hardcore researchers there too for those.
And Bob, you've been a part of putting this conference together for years and years and years. So you really know the inside DNA of this. People can go to asdreams.org. That's dreams.org to
Yes.
register. There's still room if people want to register.
Oh, heavens, yes. Yes.
But what's it like putting these on and getting to really know, you really know the speakers, Gayle Delaney, Stanley Krippner, and
Garfield will be
Patricia Garfield, right? And
Bill Domhoff.
right.
So we've got some pretty good speakers.
Yeah.
Kelly Sullivan Walden.
Oh my God. We've got Walter Berry. Oh my goodness.
Walter Berry will be there. He's funny.
Yeah.
Walter Berry is going to be organizing the Dream Ball, and it's going to be the most amazing event you've ever been to.
Jeremy Taylor. Let me not forget Jeremy Taylor. He's amazing. Yeah. And then
Jeremy will of course be joining us.
And
Jeremy's also one of the authors in the book. In fact, all of our key authors within IASD, all the big sellers are all authors on this book. But what Jeremy chose to do, which is kind of interesting, is rather than writing a chapter, he did his cartoons. He does graphic. He teaches dreams now by graphic cartoon, and so the book is filled with his cartoons as well. So, but he'll be also speaking at our conference as one of the keynotes.
And Walter Berry is going to be in charge of the Dream Ball. So it's going to be a ball. Walter Berry, who I'll be interviewing very soon on Dreams Unzipped. I've interviewed him many, many times, and he's co-hosted with me, as Bob. Walter Berry is a hoot. He is, I call him King Dreams a lot. He's crazy and wonderful, and it's going to be off the charts. So,
and he works in the movie industry, so he's bringing all his expertise to make this.
Oh my goodness! Oh wow!
We're also having, for those of you in California, this may not be a big thing, but for those of you who are not, or those of you who just don't get out to the beach, we're having a big dream hike where we're going to one of the areas that have tide pools, about a half hour from Anaheim. To the beach area, and doing canyon hikes and beach hikes. So we're going to mix it up a little bit. Besides all the dream stuff, we're going to have some fun stuff.
Mind, body, and spirit. Okay, so Bob, just to bring people inside the feeling, energy, and the energy of dreams that change our lives. I'm putting you on the spot here, but what's one of the dreams that stood out to you in editing this book, co-editing this book with Robert Gandolf? So shout out to him too. What's one of the stories that stands out to you as one of the must reads that really embodies the energy that you're trying to transmit through this book?
Well, there's one that's really kind of cute, and I'm trying to pick it up here so I can read it to you.
We need interim music.
Why am I having so much?
You do that, and I'll do the jazz hands. Razzmatazz.
The one that I really wanted to here, yes, the one that I really wanted to, and I wanted to read it because it's so amazing. As I mentioned earlier, that dreams that change our lives, they start from childhood. This one started when this child was 6 years old, and she dreamed of the moment she became conscious in this world. And let me read this to you. This was a 6-year-old, and this was the moment she says she transitioned to the vivid sensory reality around her. She said, "I perceived for the first time the world around me, the sky above, the rustling leaves, the summer heat, the breeze, the various sounds and smells of the garden." She said, "I realized that I had lost a previous state where everything was one and all-encompassing, a sort of universal consciousness, an existence which I hold as the recollection of something I experienced, but that I now know and have forgotten." So isn't that amazing?
That wasn't written by a 6-year-old.
No, it wasn't. She's a teen now or something, like a little older. But this was a dream she had when she was 6 years old of the moment she became conscious in this world. She was she was an infant, and her mother laid her out on the grass, in her grandmother's yard. And at first she really sensed the world around her, and then forgot this universal consciousness that she had just come from.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful.
Isn't that amazing?
it's amazing. And, you know, I think there's a part of me that wants to say, oh, how sad that she knew she was letting go of it. But at the same time, it's the hide and seek of this dimension. We come in with all of it, and then we deliberately, I think, parse it out. And kind of like Easter, we just, you know, if somebody's watching this in real time or close to real time, we just celebrated Easter a couple days ago. And, you know, we hide the Easter eggs, we hide things so that we can find them and be so pleased and delighted when we find something. And we can't find something that isn't already ours, really, but, you know, we are part of the hiding of things. So this innocent perspective makes that all the more clear. You know, it's okay that she's going to lose that connection, because we know she's going to get it back, and she must have gotten it back if she was able to, or getting it back to some degree if she was able to comment on that.
Exactly. And then, you know, I had one myself that was in this book from my early childhood. And I had, I think I was probably maybe 8. Yeah, in fact, I was 8 years old. And I you know how you dream at that time about, you know, witches or monsters or things, or that you can't move, you're running and you can't move. Well, I had a lot of those running and can't move dreams. And this one in particular would come, it was recurrent. It would be a storm in the sky, this horrible storm coming. I was out playing with all my friends and they all ran home, but I couldn't run. I couldn't get home. I couldn't run. And it would, every night, every few nights, I'd have this nightmare again of this storm coming. And finally I decided I'm going to turn around and look at the storm because I can't run. So I turned around and I looked at the storm, and the more I stared at the storm, all of a sudden colors started forming in the clouds. And pretty soon, and the next time I'd have the dream, I'd just stare at the storm and I'd sort of force or make the colors come. And it became so exciting that after that, I wanted the storm dream to come. So I learned to become lucid. And I learned that at that moment, the dreams were not just something strange happening in your head, but you were a part of the dream. And you could affect it, and it could affect you, and it could affect your life. And it was the thing that got me into dream work. That was the moment I changed. So
I can so picture young Bob having that revelation. I love that. And I just want to put a little pin in that, because I was just talking about this with somebody the other day that has really, really scary dreams. And I was saying one of the payoffs of having a scary dream is that you know you're dreaming when you have it. It gets your attention. So this could be the prompt to lucid dreaming, and your prompt to make a plan for what you're going to do differently in it. And I mean, this could be your wake up. There's a guy who had the most scary dream of a guy chasing him with a gun, and it was recurring. And he told himself, next time I'm going to do something different instead of running and waking up scared. And he said, he just stared at the guy and said, okay, shoot me. Let's see what happens. And the guy shot him, and it was a rubber bullet. It bounced off of him. And the gunman shot him again and again and again. It just kept bouncing off of him. And he thought, oh my God, I feel like Superman. I'm invincible. You can't kill me. And the gunman looks at him, and instead of his gun being like this, he gives him a thumbs up and a wink and leaves.
Oh, isn't that great?
And from that moment forward, the guy with the recurring dream became lucid, a very lucid dreamer, similar to you. So I think that's one thing that we can use our nightmares for, and to turn it into, really look at it differently, and then use it to become lucid. Bravo.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And there was the other thing is, as you move through life, your dreams start affecting career changes, things of that sort. We found a number of people completely changed their careers based on their dreams. There was one woman that she was in a business career, and she wasn't necessarily very happy in it, but it was, good for her financially and things of that sort. Mm-hmm. But one night, and she got a promotion. She got a promotion. She had to make a decision whether she wanted to take this promotion and continue with this career and all. Sounded good. But that night she had this dream where she was putting these cold, dead babies into a grave.
Oh, God.
All these little blue, cold, dead babies in the grave. And it was devastating to her. And she woke up realizing that these were parts of herself that she was burying. She was putting into the grave by continuing with this career choice she had made that was not satisfying to her. So she immediately changed careers as a result of that, and is now doing counseling and things of that sort, which are more along the lines of what you wanted to do. So these are the kinds of dreams we run into. And there was another that sometimes the dreams are so powerful, they basically show us that we do have this internal power. Sort of like my dream with the colored clouds. I felt that all of a sudden I had some internal power. This one occurred with a fellow who was sent off to a boarding school. And I assume he was in his teen years, and his parents sent him off to a boarding school. He said, I felt totally banished, imprisoned, and deeply depressed. He went into this huge depression. And he said, in the middle of this depression, he said, I dreamed of an immensely huge sun, which rose over the horizon, covering the whole sky. In spite of its overwhelming power, size, and strength, it was not frightening at all, but very reassuring. I felt safe and secure. He said, I woke up in a very uplifted mood, which remained, and my depression was gone. He said, I was deeply impressed by this extremely powerful dream and realized an incredible source of strength and meaning can be found within me. So, here was, you can call that the self, we can call it the higher self, the spirit, this power that's within us. These dreams, these big dreams, show us that power, and that we really can control and command our own life.
And another layer is, I mean, so far what you've shared, your dream, the dark storm chasing you and not being able to run, how terrifying that is. And then this guy going through such a difficult time. And it's like sometimes these great revelations, whether they come in a dream or come in waking life, they happen sometimes within the dark night of the soul. I think it's a really life affirming message as well. I wonder if there's any dreams that are just happy dreams that just,
well,
I'm sure
actually,
there's some.
One of the messages that we tried to get across in the book too, and I put one sequence in there. I think I shared some of that sequence on one of your shows with a girl I worked with for about 18 months. And her whole dream series started out with a really big dream where she went down into this castle-like structure and met Carl Jung, who sent her off onto a journey through life and all. But during that 18-month period, she had multiple big, or some people might just call them happy dreams, moderate dreams. But each one guided her along this path. Every dream was a learning experience. No dream was wasted on just frivolity. So the real message here is all your dreams are big dreams. They're all guiding you. You're learning in the dream itself. And you're changed a little bit in the morning, in the dream. You become a different person.
Right. It seems that some dreams, the ones that change our lives, they can have a residual and over time deeper value. Like they can grow on you, and like they maybe even at the time they don't seem like such a big deal, but as you develop and you dive deeper into them, more and more is revealed. I was just sharing yesterday on a podcast that I was invited on, a dream that I've never shared publicly, but it was a dream that I had about somebody's child died, and it was a client of mine, and it was a really difficult time, and it was the father of the son that passed away. And I had had a session with him the day before, and that night I dreamt, and it didn't feel like a dream at all. It felt like I was receiving dictation from the young man on the other side.
Wow.
And he was saying, kind of like, give this message to my dad. And I got up in the middle of the night and I wrote, while I was still in this dream state, I wrote about 5 pages of barely legible writing that was basically saying, you're still my dad. You're still important to me. When people tell you to get over this. It's not about disconnecting from me. It's just about disconnecting from the place that we knew each other, but reconnecting in this other place. I'm still here, but I'm different. We can still be connected, but it's up to you. The ball's in your court. I can only come down so far to meet you, but you must find me in this higher place.
Oh. Well, a couple of the last chapters of this book get kind of amazing because it's a section of book called Journey's End and Beyond. Because the dreams we received and put into those chapters basically not only illustrate, they talk about mourning and dreams, people who miss the passing of a loved one, but then later that loved one came in a dream and just hugged the heck out of them, and they got to say goodbye, which was wonderful. But here's one that is, it astounds me every time I read it. This one occurred on 9/11. And this woman dreamed of her husband who had died exactly 1 year earlier of the date of 9/11. And in the dream, he appeared, and she said it was very lucid. It was real. It was more than a dream. She said he appeared young and radiant. He was helping the people who had died in the World Trade Center. And so she turned to him and asked, she says, "Are they okay?" To which he responded, "They're fine. Once they're out, they're fine." Meaning once they're out in spirit, they're fine. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
A completely different perspective.
Yeah, right. Those of us that are here on this side, we tend to freeze in time the moment somebody dies, if they're suffering, and we tend to think of them in that state years later, when really that was just one moment and that moment's gone and they're in a different plane and they're doing great. And they're like, hello, don't remember me as that sick and dying person or however I was at the moment of my death, or with a building that's burning down. It's like, that was then. And now things have moved on. Catch up, people. Don't be so dense.
They appear in Dream After Dream in this book, and not only that, but in the book you did, we kind of did together the chicken.
Yes, we did. Chicken Soup for the Soul, Dreams and Premonitions.
It was Dream After Dream of people visiting after they passed to console their loved ones, and particularly some of the more touching one is when the grandmother comes back and says, "I'm here. You've done well." And encourages, the loved one, the young one, to go on.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's so. I can't get enough of those. Yeah. Or the girl in that book, in the Chicken Soup for the Soul book, Dreams and Premonitions, the woman who's having a really hard time in her life. She's a struggling actress and she can't get a job and she's having a hard time paying her bills. She can't keep a relationship to save her life. And her best friend, who had passed on a couple years before, comes to her in the dream and she says, "Oh, there you are. Let me tell you all that's going on in my life." And she is at a table and she's telling her friend about her horrible life. And then her friend finally looks at her after having listened and she slams her fist down on the table and says, "But you're still alive."
Oh, wow.
And the woman says, "Oh my God, I'm telling all these woes and worries to a dead person who's no longer here. I am still alive. I can do something about this." She woke up from that dream and everything began to change. She started teaching. She started to take some control and stopped her pity party. And within no time, she got into a good relationship and just developed a life that she was proud of. And it was that dream was the catalyst for her to remember, oh yeah, I'm still here. I can do something about this.
Exactly. Yeah. And the message that most of these visitations, the person who visits gives is that I'm still here, and I'm doing fine, and you shouldn't pine for me.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Right.
One of my favorite books in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Dreams and Premonitions is your story, Bob. Corporate executives have dreams too.
Oh, yeah.
I love your story, and I think about it all the time, especially when I hear the song by Train, Calling All Angels. For those who don't know your story, would you be willing to
Yeah,
sort of recount that?
I'll tell that briefly, and then I have another one to share too about
Yes, yes.
going beyond life. But yeah, in mine, one of the things we tried to get across in this book is that this whole thing about big dreams in our life's journey is all about learning. And life and the dream is all one. We like to tend to think of the dream being something separate, but it really, life and the dream is one big giant learning experience. And I learned that in this particular dream that Kelly's talking about. I've always been working with dreams, but I had a real life that paid my salary as a corporate executive. And I was able to finally retire early and do this full time now. But the one time it was an American Express, and the company was going through major changes, and they were really redoing all the divisions. And my boss basically came to me and said, we're going to downsize your particular division. And it was one of these deals where if I wanted to stay, my job was going to be to basically fire my staff and downsize it and all that. And I just didn't want any part of that. And there was another position in the company open to me, but it was just miserable. So I was miserable. I was looking around for positions open in the rest of the company that would be satisfying to me. And it was just, and even though I had all kinds of opportunities to leave, in fact, I had been invited to eventually go to IBM, I turned it down. And because I didn't want to leave, I was afraid I'd lose my retirement package and all this kind of shit, all these weird fears you have. Well, I had a dream one night that I was in this boat in an underground river in an ice cave, sitting there aimlessly going down this river, looking for a position in the windows that would get me out of this situation. So that was just a metaphor for what I was in. And suddenly I heard this voice behind me. It was like a tour guide or somebody back there that says, "You can walk out the door." And the one thing I was resisting, of course, in this situation of working life is just walking out the door, because I'd lose all my retirement package. I didn't know what it was going to bring me in, et cetera. And I was 55 years old at the time. So I argued with this voice, and it finally kept pointing, and suddenly a door appeared in front of the boat. And so I said, "Oh, okay, well, I'll try." And so I walked out to the front of the boat, and all of a sudden the boat came out of the ice cave onto this beautiful river, a just beautiful sun-shining day. It was all these beautiful songs. There were songs in the air and things of that sort. And so when I woke up that morning, I was a changed person. Because and on the way to work that morning, I was listening to the radio, and on came this song, Calling All Angels. And I started singing along with this song, Calling All Angels, as if it were like a prayer. And all of a sudden I had this weird sense, which maybe you've gotten sometimes, I hope, that something changed. Something really changed in the whole universe. So, and I had turned down this IBM job earlier. And but I get into work, and I'm sitting there going, I really can walk out the door. And all of a sudden, the phone rings. And it was the search firm for IBM saying, "We don't want your boss," because I had given them my boss name to go after. "We want you, and we'll be there tomorrow to interview you." So, long story short, after I got through some obligations I needed with my present company, I walked out the door.
And it was lush, and it was beautiful, and it was no longer an ice cave.
Absolutely. What it did was IBM became so strong after that point in time that I was able to retire early and do my dream work. So it was like winning the lotto. It was really great. And the thing was, I learned in the dream, and that's the important thing. The learning occurred in the dream. I actually listened to the voice in the dream. I walked out the door in the dream, and it rewarded me for it. Right. That rewarding process that dreams do is where it changes your life. And the change actually happens in the dream. I didn't reflect on this dream until well after I had made the decision. And I went back and started looking. I said, it was all there. So, yeah. So
I love that. I often refer to that when there's it's almost like these three acts. There's like the problem, and then there's the what you do about it. And then if you get it right, there's often this payoff. There's the lottery, there's the something. And I have such a very vivid image in my mind. I feel like it is not just an if it were my dream, it has become my dream.
Yeah. Well, the one thing you'll notice about these life-changing dreams, and 70% of them in this book, Dreams That Change Our Life, had this. It had what Jung called compensation. The dream, we get ourselves stuck in life because we believe a certain way. Like in my dream, I believed that, I was going to lose all my package and I was too old to change and all this kind of jazz. The dream brings in an opposing scenario. It compensates for your misconceptions. And if you, in the dream, make the decision to follow that guidance, the change will occur. And what happened, I argued in the dream with this voice, but finally I decided to walk out the door in the dream. And so the dream was basically saying, you can walk out the door,
It's so great when you've got a printout like that, when you've got a clear statement, I can walk out the door.
And this sequence of presenting the problem as a metaphor, bringing in an opposing scenario to your misconceived beliefs, and then rewarding you if you follow the dream within the dream is the common way dreams learn. And 70% of the dreams in this book have that sequence in them. It's pretty amazing.
Right. Well, and I know this is what you're going to be sharing about, and I know there's other stories that you'll use. Is there anything else that we're not going to give any more away about what you'll talk about, but is there anything else you can kind of tease about what people can look forward to when they come and see you speak at this year's International Association for the Study of Dreams conference?
One of the things that I'm going to have fun doing, we all like lucid dreaming. This year I'm getting together with Robert Waggoner and Ed Kellogg.
Ooh.
We're going to present it's going to be a symposium and panel. So there can be some sharing with the group around us on all the aspects of lucid dreaming. I'll present the science and psychology of lucid dreaming. Robert Waggoner will be speaking on the lucid dreaming experience and getting into consciousness and various levels of consciousness that you can touch when you're in a lucid dream. And Ed Kellogg has had some of the most amazing experiences, including self-healing in dreams, healing others in dreams, things of that in these lucid dreams. So that to me is my most exciting presentation at the conference.
That sounds wonderful.
There'll be many, many more that are just as exciting. All of Saturday, good quarter of the presentations on Saturday are going to be on spiritual and topics in dreams, the whole spiritual section. So that's a day you don't want to miss. You can actually pay for just one day of the conference if you want to. And if you pay for Saturday, you get Friday night too. But so it's definitely going to be an experience, I think, for anybody who comes. It will be very, very rewarding.
And I'm looking forward to, I was just talking to Joan Galfand. I'm going to be presenting with her on dreams, that how you can use your dreams to source your creativity. And we'll be doing an actual workshop on that. And I'll be talking about dream goddesses and dreaming with goddess glasses. So that should be fun. You said there was one more story that you'd like to share.
The conference, I think, with yours, you're one of the very first presenters with your dream goddess thing. Yeah.
We'll start it with goddesses. That's a good way to start.
In a special slot.
Oh, thank you. I'm very excited. So is there any last thought that you'd like to leave people with, any last story about dreams that change our lives? Or
there is one story which just always warms my heart. I always like to think that this life is not the only life, and that this learning experience and journey doesn't end when we die. It just continues. This was very, very heartwarming. It was a woman named Victoria, and her father had died when she was very little. And in this dream, he appears, and he appears somewhat young, like, you know, we've talked about before when we get these visitations. It was definitely him. And he says, "I'm coming back." And she says, you're coming back. You're coming back from France or something. She remembered he was in France when he says, "No, I'm coming back from death." And he was all happy and hugged her. And, you know, this is the big celebration. "I'm coming back." And they were in the dream. She was in a place that looked like an orphanage in the dream. And the next day after the dream, her brother called to tell her that they were at the adoption center, and they were granted the adoption of a 3-month-old boy, or a 3-month-old boy. So circumstance maybe, but I like to kind of think he was coming back.
Oh, that is so wonderful. I believe it. I mean, if you think about being alive and all the things that it takes to keep us alive and who we are just filled with, we're a miracle machine. Yeah. So it's not far-fetched to think that there's these spontaneous synchronistic happenings that tie on our dreams to our waking life. So that it's not far-fetched at all. We're hurling through space at, I don't know, hundreds of thousands or millions of miles an hour, and why would we think anything strange? Here we are having this conversation. Exactly. And Bob Haas, I just have to tell you, I so appreciate you. I so appreciate your, you do have this corporate executive background, and yet, I mean, you kind of represent the evolution of our species, the male aspect, because you really have that sensitive side that is incredibly advanced and developed spiritually. And you're very grounded. You pull off these incredible IASD conferences, and you're very organized, and you really have the blend of both sides, and you're so generous in your sharing. I've come to you with personal questions about dreams, and I was sitting backstage in a green room on Ricky Lake, and they threw a spontaneous question to me about sleep paralysis, and I'm like, "Bob, I've got 5 minutes, help!" And you're right there at the ready. And I was telling somebody the other day, when you go to an IASD conference, you're going to meet people like Bob Haas, all of the people that you meet, you're going to love. This is a real tribe of people that come from the heart and the soul, and they're intelligent, and they care, and they're on the evolutionary edge. And you are a wonderful representation of who people can expect to meet and be inspired by when they go to the IASD conference.
Thanks, Kelly. Mm-hmm. Appreciate that a lot.
So thank you for joining me today on Dreams Unzipped, for unzipping some of these dreams that change our lives. I can't wait to hold this book in my hands. It's so beautiful. And you've been working on this for so long. This has been, sometimes you dream and incubate things for a while, but if you stick with it, eventually they become manifest. And this is an exciting time. So everybody, make sure you go. If you haven't already bought your ticket yet, go to asdreams.org and buy your tickets to the 34th Annual Dream Conference at the Wyndham Anaheim in Garden Grove, Anaheim, California. Go to asdreams.org. And until we meet again, thanks for joining me here on Dreams Unzipped. And please don't take your dreams lying down. Sweet dreams.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.